Hello and very warm welcome to this special podcast series called Digital Mandate, organized by B2B, the Founder Media, the publisher of the Founder magazine, and also the technology media platform called Tech Disruptor. Today I'm joined by Mr. Mukul Aggarwal, Senior Vice President of Religare Housing Finance Limited. He is somebody who has spent a lot of time in the industry, has gone through a lot of marquee projects across various organizations. If I have to ask you in terms of how do you look at ultimately any deployment is about team. I mean, there are people at junior, senior, and multiple level who are working on a very marquee and key projects. They are the one who are the torch bearer of actually technology deployment. How do you motivate them? What are the leadership lessons that you have learned so far and something that you have imparted to your team which you feel that really important in terms of keep the motivation going, keep innovation happening, because tech is the space which is all about innovation.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, Ujale, for having me here. I think you have touched upon a very sensitive point because what happens is projects are successful because of people. Projects fail because of people.
Right.
Technology plays a very minor role in project being successful or not.
Right.
Change management in an organization is a very important thing to manage because whenever you deploy a project, you're doing it for bringing change in the organization.
Right.
It could be a technology change,
Right.
it could be a process change, or it could be any other change. So to manage the change, you need people. The key factor here to ensure is that people should be involved.
Right.
They should always have this: what is there in it for me?
Right.
Or what value do I bring to the table?
Right.
Or how much my contribution impacts the path this project is taking,
Right.
the goal this project was going to be achieving. That sense of ownership needs to be granted, given, driven
Right.
into the team
Right.
to make them a part of the project.
Right.
What happens is, I'm telling you from practical experience.
Right.
Hardcore technology guys do not want to be much involved in business because they look up at a project from a technology perspective,
Yes.
not from a business perspective. So my advice to them always is, if you want to grow up your career ladder,
Right.
first thing that you need to understand is business.
Right.
Because whichever company you're working in, if you do not understand their core business, there is no point being in technology.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You are in finance, retail, manufacturing, whatever.
Right. Right.
Because technology people can end up in any domain.
Right.
So if you understand the core business,
Yes.
and how does technology enable the business team do the business?
Right.
If you do not understand this, you will probably fail yourself as a technology guy,
Right.
and in turn not being much more contributing to the company as well.
We see some slight change in the expectation from CIOs, CTOs in terms of their role in the overall the business outcome. What is your assessment? How these roles are basically, other than the traditional tech role, it is also becoming a highly leadership role, a board driven, where the CIOs, the CTOs, and the IT heads are becoming an integral part of the business development.
You're right. Now, technology is not a technology role.
Right.
It's a business technology role.
Yes.
You pick up any business, any organization. You cannot have any organization that does not have a significant contribution of technology in the way they are doing business. If the business depends mostly on technology,
Right.
the technology guys would have an important say on how the business is run.
Right.
And if they have an important say on how the business is run, they need to understand how the business runs.
Right.
So from that perspective, you cannot have only technology thought process in your mind.
Right.
You should always have the thought process: how would the business run and how would the technology enable this business? So from that perspective, technology has now woven into the fabric of the way business is being done.
That these days, there are a lot of innovation has happened in the high-end automation. And these are the times of a buzz around AI, machine learning, blockchain. And we do see the different companies of different sizes trying to utilize this technology based on the use cases that they have. From an NBFC perspective, from an organization like housing financing companies perspective, how do you look at AI? What are the areas where you feel it has a huge potential in terms of bringing real value to the organization?
I think all the Web3 technologies have huge potential business use cases,
Right,
and especially in financial sector, and then narrowing down to NBFC sector.
right.
I see Gen AI and machine learning have a significant uh, impact and use case availability across the broad spectrum of lead generation,
Right.
qualification, onboarding a customer,
Right.
doing credit decisioning, doing all the technical and financial analysis on the application, giving or sanctioning a loan, disbursing a loan, life cycle of the loan,
Right.
collections, repossessions, legal, and whatnot. At every place, these Web3 technologies can have an impact.
Right.
But touching upon the low hanging fruits, which I spoke in my earlier sessions as well, was that a lot of companies can come up with co-lending credit decisioning
Right.
model. But from an NBFC sector, I see understanding the credit decisioning model.
Right. Right.
This is where the Gen AI models or other Web3 technologies can
Will have a huge impact.
impact.
And you also mentioned especially the customer experience part, because
Yes.
that is one area where most of the organization, despite big claims, they struggle.
They do
right?
struggle.
How do you see that conversational AI coming into the picture and possibly making our IVR more smart and maybe wiping out some of the traditional thing that we are doing today?
I'll again go back to the first conversation topic.
Right.
Unless you burn your own fingers,
Right.
you will not understand the pain.
Mhm.
What happens is, again, in these Web3 technologies, so the chatbots or that you're talking
Right.
about, the learning model that is being used is purely artificial.
Artificial. Right.
Whereas my take on that is you should use genuine data to train
Right.
your models.
Yes.
And the people who are guiding the learning path of the model itself should understand and step into the shoes of the customer that they're supposed to serve.
Right. Right.
So if you are asking a engineer to create a learning model,
Right.
then you have to ensure that the engineer understands that what he is building for.
Right. Right.
He's building for a customer. So help him. So in some of the organizations, what I used to generally do is ask my team, go to the branch,
Right.
sit
Right.
there for a day,
Yes.
feel firsthand how
Right.
it happens, what happens, then come back with your experience.
Yes.
And when this was done, it actually made a huge lot of difference in terms of how the technology people thought and
Right.
created and built solutions.
Now, let me ask you, the collation of data has become very easy, as you rightly
is.
said, because of technology. But at the same time, it has put a lot of burden on technologies to ensure that the data is protected, secure. And then for most of the BFSI, there are very huge guidelines from RBI,
Yes.
and you need to be completely compliant to that.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that? What are the couple of things that you feel as a technologist that you should always embark on from a data security and protection perspective?
I think you've touched upon a data security topic, which is really huge in itself.
Right.
And unfortunately, until a few years back, it has always been an afterthought.
Right.
But with the new focus by the regulator in place, it has to be the thought which goes along with the product initialization phase. So the data security is of paramount importance, not only for us, because from a regulatory perspective, but again, if I were to step in the shoes of an end user, and if I find that my data has been leaked out
Right.
by an organization, I really feel offended.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Therefore, it is a moral obligation, moral duty of an organization to ensure protection of the data of our end users, of our customers.
Right.
use their data only for the intended purposes.
Right.
Do not make a fine print and then ensure that the user just says okay.
Right.
You may want to very well use the data for the purposes of cross-selling, upselling.
Yes.
But let's do the business ethically.
Absolutely.
Let the customer be aware. Okay, I'm going to use your data to do cross-sell to you.
Yes.
That is one piece. Second is, how do you ensure data protection? So data protection starts from understanding where the data is in your entire technology footprint.
Right.
So inventorying of your data repository becomes important. There are tools available in the market. They can scan your data repository to identify what kind of data lies in what kind of repositories. It could be structured data. It could be unstructured data. Also, having a overarching data protection scheme, where you should have a person, individual person, responsible to protect the data in good faith, and who works as a trustworthy partner for your customers is important. So it's not that you can leave the data protection to the people who are actually developing technology systems. No, it should not be.
Absolutely. Before I let you go, let me ask you, if I have to ask you, what are the 2 areas down the line in couple of years, maybe 3 years, 5 years, which you feel will have a far-reaching impact and will change some of the things that we are doing today?
See, in terms of technology, I think the Web3 technologies will be far more pervasive in the way that we do business, especially the blockchain. So what happens is, currently all the contracts that we have are digitally signed, paperless, etc. But they are still not non-repudiable. So blockchain technology would definitely be used to make the contracting far more transparent. This is one. Second is, much more pervasive use of Gen AI would definitely start. I mean, we'll have ready-made use cases where we can just pick and choose, deploy the model for a very specific purpose, which is trained on a customized data set, does not hallucinate. That technology is not really far away.
Just one last thing on the blockchain part, and you rightly said it has a huge potential, and down the line it will become a kind of single source of truth, wherein everybody who is part of the ecosystem will have access to it.
Yes.
And you can't actually change. If one thing is changed, everybody, all the data entry will be updated accordingly. But this technology is very much available.
Yes, it is.
Used by in crypto, in Bitcoin, in some of these areas in a very agile and scalable way. But what is the reason why so far in India there are some states they have tried to experiment with blockchain, especially for agriculture and stamp registration, land record management. But we have not seen the kind of deployment it should happen, especially in the BFSI sector. Is it because there is the business rule has to be changed, or is it because you will have to have a lot level of customization where government will have a huge say in the blockchain?
Well, I think what has gone wrong with blockchain is that it has always been marketed as a Bitcoin. The marketing has absolutely and horrendously gone wrong for blockchain technology, because I did not ever use the word crypto. I did not ever use the word coins. I'm talking about the underlying technology.
Yes, absolutely.
The blockchain technology has not been explained enough to even the technology people, for that matter. Because I know people who would only, when I talk to them, blockchain.
But maybe because the vendor doesn't want, because you'll have the centralization, and that means you'll be able to solve. Silos will go out.
It gives a lot of transparency, and not all people are comfortable with transparency. That's where I think is, and that's why I said it's good to do business ethically. And when you do business ethically, you'll have to have a lot of transparency in place.
Yes.
Which comes with technology such as blockchain, where people are not really open to have everything open.
Mr. Aggarwal, thank you so much for taking our time for this podcast.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.